Welcome to Cardboard Bots. Today we're going to look at P+01 Gold Lightan. This high-end toy is the first offering by a newer company called POSE Plus, and according to the box, it's a part of their Metal series. I believe this toy is designed by Awaken Studio. You may remember them as the designers of the recent machine robo toys that were put out by Action Toys. Their English tagline leads me to believe that POSE Plus is a company of Awaken Studio. That slogan reads, "To awake the emotion and soul of giant robot collectors." When they say giant robot collectors, I assume they mean collectors of giant robots, and not giant robots who collect. Gold Lightan comes well packed in a nicely designed box and styrofoam prison. The included accessories come stored in a typical plastic clamshell. But if we're going to awaken the soul of this giant robot collector, he'll have to be set free. With a kick like that, he'd be one heck of a footballer. Of course, then they'd have to call him Gold Lightan. Normally, I start my reviews in the robot's alt mode, so let's turn him back into whatever he's supposed to be. It sort of looks like a golden refrigerator, but who would own a gold fridge? Destro?
A pittance.
Goldfinger?
Goldfinger.
The Rhino?
Gold! Solid gold!
Gold Dust? Mr. T? Regardless of who could own such an appliance, it's not a fridge. At first I thought maybe it's a fancy cigarette case. Close, but no cigar. No, Gold Lightan turns out to be a Zippo style lighter, albeit a luxury version of a Zippo style lighter. Here's an example of what it might be referencing. Much like the original Japanese toy versions of Megatron or Soundwave, Gold Lightan was meant to mimic a life-size, real-world object. Although based on a reissue, this is how his original 1981 toy would look. Now, POSE Plus's version of Gold Lightan is oversized. You can see that clearly when we compare it to an actual lighter. And here it is next to a light bulb. For a Transformer comparison, here he is next to Laserbeak, Crane Brain, Stereo Master, Prowl, Soundwave, and Transistor. But the big question on everyone's mind, does he scale with Prime's trailer? That's a resounding yes. Now come on back, you big beautiful boxy bot. So you may be wondering, is Gold Lightan really gold? No! POSE Plus's version is not gold. However, Bandai, through its Soul Shogoken line, put out an 18 and a 24 karat plated gold version. Ironically, it's less expensive than POSE Plus's offering. That's probably because it's much smaller. The POSE Plus toy uses a gold colored chrome vacuum formed plastic. It also has a significant amount of metal components, which I assume are plated to look like gold. Everything that's part of the lighter form or shell is metal. I believe the 1981 toy by Poppy was also die-cast metal. Now look at how he compares in bot mode. Here's Masterpiece Spike, New Age Flipper, KFC Fader, GoBot's Crane Brain, Magic Square Architect, Masterpiece Bumblebee, Bad Cube Huff, DX9 Salmore, Hasbro Sunstorm, Masterpiece Convoy, Vans Toys Soar, DX9 Mictron, Gigapower Grasshor, and KFC Die Stack. Let me move back to Prime to talk about this comparison a little. Gold Lightan has an extended leg mode that gives him more posability, but it also makes him a little bit taller than he really ought to be. Even though this toy is Masterpiece scale, in the cartoon fiction, Gold Lightan would be many times smaller than Optimus Prime. Micro scale. He would remain small for most of the episode as he interacted with his human friends. When the Robot Monster of the Week came on the scene, he would transform into a much larger robot. A super robot. According to the badly subtitled episodes that I watched, Gold Lightan got his true power or his true form from the robot dimension. I'm not making this up. Like many cool Japanese cartoons, the transformation was always a really awesome part of the show, and it's one where they saved on animation by reusing it episode after episode. And man, was it a filler piece. This transformation takes about 75 seconds to play out from start to finish. Speaking about filling time, let's talk about why we didn't see Gold Lightan in North America. I think the most obvious reason was because all the toys in the Gold Lightan show turned into lighters. Yes, he had a posse of about 5 to 6 robot buddies, and they all turned into different types of lighters. Despite my own wonderful experience as a child, lighters don't make good children's toys. It's sort of the same problem that Megatron had as a gun that transformed into a robot. Okay, his transformation to giant robot is just about complete. So just how big does Gold Lightan get? Well, according to Wikipedia, he grows to be 30 meters in height and over 200 tons. Gold Lightan would be many, many times bigger than Optimus Prime. When he achieved his supermassive form, he wasn't hindered in this mode. He was still a very agile martial artist robot fighter. He would punch and karate chop with style. And boy, could he jump and kick with those amazing legs. Just look at him.
Look at them legs. Look at them legs. They're amazing. Look at them legs. Look at them legs. They're amazing.
Everything about this Gold Lightan is pretty amazing. He can even turn into a little cute version of himself. His transformation allows his legs and his arms to compress down. I don't know if this mode is intentional, but it sure is fun. In this form, he even walks cute. Speaking of movement, his head can turn and nod and waggle on a very small ball peg. It's almost comically small. His arms move about freely and can rotate smoothly, and he's even got a little butterfly joint in those shoulders. Bicep swivel, 90-degree elbow bend. He comes with 4 sets of interchangeable hands. Aside from the standard fist, there's chopping hands. Those make good waving hands too. They attach using a ball peg connection. There's also 2 types of open hands. Ones without magnets and ones with magnets. Gold Lightan is a martial artist. There's one thing you should never do to them. Sneak up on them while they're practicing. In just about every episode of the Gold Lightan cartoon, he would finish off his enemies with his golden knife attack. He'd reach into their chest and rip out their heart core. The Pose Plus toy recreates that iconic scene by the use of magnetic hands. The embedded magnets are not very strong though. They can barely pick up a small coin. It's easy to recognize the magnetic hand. Now let's look at his lower half. His hips are on a slider. There's amazing ankle pivot, and he can do the splits. Full thigh rotation. Forward leg movement is a little hindered by his body. The knees bend greater than 90 degrees. The feet have really great tilt back and forth and excellent ankle pivot. Now for accessories. Gold Lightan comes with this stand that also doubles as storage for all the little accessories. The main difference with that alternate head is that it features a light up gimmick. The big piece in the middle features the battery compartment and the powerful light. The light shines up through the head and out through the ruby eyes and that emerald on his forehead. I didn't try it out because I really couldn't be bothered getting batteries for it. And it wouldn't be much of a stand if he couldn't stand on it. The stand also holds a transparent backdrop. You can use it to recreate that psychedelic transformation scene from the cartoon. Although I haven't tried it, it might look good lit up from the back. Now let's transform this guy into a box. All Gold Lightan toys transform in a fairly intuitive and simple way. That being said, this is a high-end toy, and you want to be very careful when you transform because there's a lot of sliding components. I worried about chrome on chrome parts rubbing against each other, but those worries were unfounded. My recommendation is to take your time, watch how it's done, look at the instructions, and go for it. The trickiest part for me was just making sure the head's properly aligned so it isn't rubbing or touching up against any other parts. When he's in his lighter cube mode, you might notice that there's still some panel gaps there. Perhaps my transformation's a bit off, but I've also seen lots of pictures where other people have these gaps too. I'm not worried about it too much, but the main draw for me isn't the lighter mode. I'm all about the bot mode. I knew nothing about Gold Lightan before getting this toy. I saw pictures of it online and I thought, wow, that's really interesting. What is that? I put it on my wish list with about 1,000 other cool, expensive robot toys that I'll never, ever get. I must have been a good boy last year, because on Christmas morning, this was under the tree. I can't begin to describe how special this toy feels. Along with my chromed out Gigapower Dinobots, it's among the crown jewels of my collection. Some people are afraid to handle fancy chromed out Transformers. I think I can assure you that this isn't some delicate display piece. When I animate these robots, I handle them a lot. I'm constantly picking them up, moving them, transforming them, resetting them, moving them again. In short, I put gold lighting through his paces, and he's held up remarkably well. I might have been a bit rough during my first transformation, and he does have a scuff mark on his knee and on his head. If you're the kind of person that will get a toy like this, you'll be alright, because you're not going to handle him the way I handle him. I learned a ton of stuff while making this video, and I hope you have too. Thanks for watching this stop motion review of POSE Plus Gold Lightan. See you next time when I reveal your options for voting for the next review. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention. This thing is a fingerprint magnet.
Look at